Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Brian, and we have an exciting flight that we're going to get into. I'm doing a blind tasting between two different Old Forester barrel strength bourbons and one Jack Daniel's barrel proof bourbon. I have been curious for a while to see how the Jack Daniel's that I seem to find on a lot of shelves a whole lot, and even in 375 milliliter bottles, stacks up against the Old Forester, which normally when those picks come out, and they usually have been store picks or totally have been store picks. But once those seem to come out, they seem to sell really fast in the stores that they have them. Now, with this all kind of falling under the Brown-Forman umbrella, I wanted to see why one of these sells out very fast at $89.99 and the other sits on the shelf at around that $60 price point. So I have a sample of an Old Forester barrel strength bourbon that someone had sent me. I forget the specs of it. If I can pull that up for the video, I'll put those below as we taste. I have my favorite Old Forester barrel strength bourbon so far, which has been Corner Piece of Cake. This is one that was released at the distillery. And then I have another sample that I was sent of the Jack Daniel's barrel strength or barrel proof bourbon. This one comes in at 133.7 proof. I might try and dig for the information of that specific store pick, but at least the proofs of these I'll try and put down below while we are tasting them. To me, I've blinded these, so I've kind of mixed them up and we'll do a reveal at the end. Will I actually be able to tell which ones are which? And will the Old Foresters be better than the Jack Daniels? This is something I thought might be helpful for you all because it might be a bourbon that you're able to find, and it might be a bourbon that you might be sleeping on the shelf instead of chasing after an Old Forester. So let's go ahead and go. We have these labeled as 1, 2, 3, and then we'll reveal those at the end. Pause right here, jump down below, give me a thumbs up on this video, subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to be able to continue to bring content to you, viewers. Glass 1 has beautiful brown sugar, caramel. It seems to have some orchard-like fruits to it, so it's got some good sweetness, some peach, some cherry. Juicy, but it's complemented with leather. A lot of orange, like a lot of like candied citrus, a little lemon. And then there's like some really well-placed oak kind of mingling in there as well. Let's go to the second glass. The second glass is a lot deeper and darker. It reminds me more of King of Kentucky in that regard, where it's got more barrel char, a little bit more like chocolate notes, a little bit more dark fruit. It's like a Tootsie Roll, milk chocolate Tootsie Roll meets dark chocolate thing going on. Some powdered sugar, man. A little bit of smoke, a little bit of barrel char, oak and leather, darker fruits. So more like raisin and dark cherry, plum notes. Man, there's a fresh cedar note. That's a really enjoyable, really complex nose. And then C. Now C is similar again to, or the third glass is similar to the first glass. It has brightness. It has citrus pops, a big red cherry note, lots of leather, a good amount of oak too, like a pillowy chocolate. Let's kind of go through and nose them again one more time. Glass 1. A little bit more integrated spice, caramel brown sugar, kind of juicy. Glass 2, deeper, darker tones. Man, that is good. That is good. And glass 3, juicy, creamy, rich. Let's go ahead and start diving through the palate. Palate on 1 kind of has this cinnamon red hot thing, most immediately noticeable. It does start to get a little creamy, but it's got a little bit of mint, a little bit of the cinnamon candy, and the spearmint kind of continues to linger. It gets kind of dry and lingers with some more mint. get some dark fruits in there. You get a little bit of that orchard fruit, kind of like a peach pie, a peach cobbler. You start to notice some of that oak and leather as well. Let's go ahead and go to the second glass. Whew. The second glass definitely brings some heat to the palate. But when you get beyond the heat, man, creamy, brown sugar, like toasted sugars, like creme brulee topping, some vanilla. Those dark fruits, man, tons of oak and char, and like a little bit of smokiness, some grassiness. That cedar note reappears and gives it like some freshness. Toasted orange peel, lemon oil. It has some of the same kind of cinnamon candy note that the first glass does, but you do get more heat to this pour. This is one that I feel like, because the flavors are so good and dense and complex, that maybe with a drop of water in this, and I might do this at the end of the video, it might come alive. Let's go ahead and move to the third glass. Man, second glass is still sitting nice on the palate, really long linger. 3, and a lot of good sugars on the nose of this one now. 3 is pretty rich. It backs off the heat. It gives a real chewy body. Orchard fruit comes back. Lots of caramel. Like a silky milk chocolate. A nice bit of spice too, like a good presence of baking spice, kind of more than the other two. These came off more cinnamon. This one tastes older than the other two, or at least it doesn't taste as young, or that it doesn't have that cinnamon note, which I usually kind of attribute that to some of the younger whiskeys. Man, really elegant. That milk chocolate's moving a little bit more dark chocolate. There's a subtle mintiness to it, so it's like almost like the linger of having an Andes mint, but it's not as minty and spearmint in that the first glass has. But it does have a lot of similarities to the first glass. Good amount of oak, long linger. Highlight of this one is just that it's rich and chewy. Lingering with that oak, a little bit of barrel char. Let's again go back through one more time. A little less complex. Cinnamon, but does have some of the orchard fruit and good oak and leather. Second glass, hotter than the other two for sure, but man, such a large amount of flavor that can be had in this one. And then C, really similar to A, but better oak placement, better balance of flavors, and a really rich body. If I'm going to go ahead and score these pours as is, I'm going to go glass 3, and then I'm going to go to glass 2, and then I'm going to go to glass 1. Now, before we reveal these, I'm going to go ahead and add a touch of water and come back. All right, with a little bit of water, glass 1 comes off really caramely. Really fun, really fun. Good fruitiness and a lot of like a mixture of leather and caramel. Fruity on the palate, accentuates that leather, kind of like it does on the nose. Glass 2. Oh man, it actually draws more of those orchard fruits out, like glasses 1 and 2, when you add a little water to this one. Man, really perfumey nose. It really amps up the fruitiness to the nose of this one with a little bit of water. And then a little bit of the barrel char, and then a little touch of mint comes out as well. Man, the palate rolls off all of that spice. Then you're left with these delicious dark fruit notes and the chocolate and the oak, and man, that is great. It's that fresh kind of like cedar note mixed into it too that just takes it to a new level. It like adds a realness to it. You know, when it comes to bourbon, a lot of times I appreciate pours like when I hear some of the master distillers or brand ambassadors talk about the grain and the purity of it. When I can picture landscape or being out or like in fields or where grains are grown or anything like that, to me, that brings it all full circle, and those kind of experiences I really enjoyed. Let's go to the third glass. Now that third glass turns really desserty. Raisin, oak, char, caramel, a little bit of vanilla in there as well. And it just has such a complex spice to the finish too. It's a delicious pour. But it's going back and forth with two. Without water, I would say the order goes 3, 2, and 1. But with water, I would say it goes 2, 3, and 1. So that's crazy. So whatever is the second and third pour, these are interchangeably really delicious. And depending on if you like to add water, I say depending on if you like to add water, but sometimes I think if you add a couple of drops and it can change your pour for the better, why not do that if you have a barrel strength offering? Okay, so let's go ahead and reveal these. Number 1 is the first sample, which was this Old Forester sample that I was sent of one of the barrel strengths. Glass 2 was 3, which happens to be the Jack Daniel's. So this one came in second without adding water and came in first when I added drops of water to it. And that means that the third glass was sample 2, which was Corner Piece of Cake. This is the one that has been my favorite Old Forester single barrel strength that I have tried so far. And it definitely held up in this, but was still delicious with water, but didn't come close to as much as it seemed like the Jack Daniel's had to offer in this particular flight. Y'all, I hope that was helpful for you. This is really interesting. The flavors, especially when you have some water added, are really similar to one another. You can definitely tell they come from the same umbrella family. And my suggestion to you all, if you have Jack Daniel's barrel proof bourbons near you, maybe don't sleep on them. Pick one up. Really great prices. I think these come in somewhere to $50 to $60 range, which is still $20 to $30 cheaper than what you'll find these Old Foresters. All really enjoyable whiskeys. And this was a really enlightening and fun flight for me, and I hope also for you. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. If so, please jump down below, give me a thumbs up on this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I'd like to continue to provide content for you all and hope it's content that you want to hear. So please leave me a message down below. Let me know what you think about this. Have you had other Jack Daniel barrel proof bourbons? Have you had Old Forester single barrel strengths? What have you thought about them? And have you done a comparison of the two yourself? I'd love to hear about it. And I'd also love to hear other things you all want me to talk about on the channel. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. If you want more content, join us on the Entry Proof podcast. That's a podcast that I do with Drew P. Whiskey. He's also here on YouTube, and we're live on his channels Thursday nights doing blinds, interviews, talking about our barrel picks, all types of things. You want to learn more about barrel picks and other things that we have? If you want to fuel this channel, his channel alike, join us on Patreon. We're at patreon.com/entryproofpodcast. It's a way that you can support us here on the show and get inside access to the barrel picks and such that we bring to you all. Until next time, everybody, we'll see you all later.